I counted them. 1, 2, 3. By the time his words cut through me for the 30th time that evening, my chest felt hollow and the bitter taste of shame filled my mouth. But my resolve had turned to absolute steel. My son Bradley thought he was putting a stubborn old man in his place in front of his sneering wife. He thought his education and his sharp tongue gave him power. He did not know that while he was busy playing the disrespectful intellectual, I was mentally signing the eviction notice. I am Garrison Ford. I am 68 years old. I spent 40 years building skyscrapers in Chicago, fighting unions, winter storms, and city corruption. And this is the story of how I sold my son's house while he was sitting at his desk at work, unaware that his life was about to be demolished. If you have ever been betrayed by the very blood you sacrificed everything for, like this video and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from. It was a Tuesday night in February, and the wind off Lake Michigan was sharp enough to cut glass. I parked my 10-year-old sedan 2 blocks away from the Lakeshore Drive mansion because there was no room in the driveway. The driveway was filled with leased Porsches and Range Rovers belonging to people who had never worked a day of hard labor in their lives. I walked against the wind, clutching a small package wrapped in brown paper. It was my son Bradley's 32nd birthday. The house looked magnificent from the outside. It should. I bought it 5 years ago. I paid cash for it after a particularly good year in commercial real estate. I let Bradley and his wife Vanessa live there. I told them it was their home. I never told them that the deed was held by a limited liability company called Bulldog Holdings, solely owned by me. To them, it was a gift. To me, it was a test. A test they were failing miserably. I rang the doorbell. The bass from the music inside was vibrating the heavy oak door. Vanessa opened it. She was 28, beautiful in a plastic, manufactured way, and holding a glass of champagne that cost more than my first car. "Oh, it is you," she said. She did not move aside to let me in immediately. Her eyes scanned my coat. It was a good coat, wool, durable, but it was old. It did not fit the aesthetic of her party. "Happy birthday to Bradley," I said, stepping past her before she could block me. The warmth of the house hit me, carrying the scent of expensive perfume and something sweet and chemical. "He is in the living room, Garrison," she said, not calling me Dad. "Try not to embarrass him tonight. He has important clients here." I walked into the living room. It was crowded. I saw Bradley holding court near the fireplace. He looked good on the surface. Expensive suit, perfect haircut, a glass of scotch in his hand. But I know construction. I know how to spot a hairline fracture in a foundation before the building collapses. Bradley was tense. His eyes were darting around the room, nervous, calculating. He was laughing too loud. I approached him. "Happy birthday, son." The room went quiet. His friends, a collection of tech consultants and influencers, looked at me. I was the anomaly, the old man with calloused hands in a room of manicured fingernails. "Dad," Bradley said. His voice was tight. "You made it." I handed him the package. It was his grandfather's watch, a 1945 mechanical piece that had been in our family for 3 generations. It was not flashy. It did not have diamonds. It was about heritage. It was about time. Bradley took it. He tore the paper. He looked at the old leather case and opened it. He stared at the watch for a second, and then he laughed. A short, cruel bark of a laugh. "Thanks, Dad," he said. He tossed the box onto a side table where empty glasses and used napkins were piled. It slid off the edge and fell into a trash bin filled with discarded wrapping paper. Vanessa giggled. "Oh, Bradley, be nice. Maybe we can sell it at a garage sale." I felt a tightening in my chest. Not anger, disappointment. The kind of disappointment that tastes like ash. I walked over and retrieved the watch from the trash. I put it back in my pocket. "Can we talk?" I asked quietly. Bradley hissed, grabbing my arm. His grip was hard, too hard. He dragged me toward his home office, the library. I had built those shelves myself. I had installed that mahogany desk. He shoved me inside and locked the door. The music was muffled now. It was just us. "I need money, Dad," he said. He did not waste time. He did not ask how I was. He went straight to the point. I looked at him. "I retired 3 years ago, Bradley. You have a job. You live in a $2 million house for free." "It is not enough," he shouted. He began to pace. He looked like a trapped animal. "I need $200,000 by Friday." $200,000. I sat down in the leather chair. I looked at my son. I saw the tension in his shoulders. I saw the desperation in his eyes. "Gambling?" I stated. It was not a question. "It was an investment that went wrong." He lied. He always lied. "Just write the check, Dad. You have it. I know you have it. You are sitting on a pile of cash from the business." "I do have it," I said calmly, "but I am not giving it to you. If I give it to you, you will gamble it away by Friday. You need help, Bradley. You need rehab." He stopped pacing. He looked at me with pure hatred. Vanessa slipped into the room from a side door that connected to the master bedroom. She had her phone out. She was recording. "Tell him, Brad," she said, her voice dripping with poison. "You are going to give me that money," Bradley said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Or you are never going to see us again. You are going to die alone in that sad little apartment of yours." I stood up. "I am leaving, Bradley." He blocked my path. "You are not leaving until you sign a check." I tried to step around him. He shoved me back into the chair. The force of it knocked the wind out of me. "Sign the check, old man," Vanessa urged from the corner. I looked at them. My son, my daughter-in-law. They looked like vultures. "No," I said. Bradley's face turned a color I had never seen. It was purple with rage. And then he started, not with his fists, with his words. "You think you are tough?" he screamed. "You think because you poured concrete you are something special? You are nothing. You are a wallet. That is all you are to us." And then he began to humiliate me. He mocked my clothes. He mocked my retirement. He mocked my age. He called me irrelevant. He called me a burden. He said I was embarrassing. He said I smelled like an old man. He said my stories were boring. He said my advice was worthless. 1. I counted in my head. He did not stop. He insulted my intelligence. He said I was too stupid to understand modern business. He said I got lucky, not smart. He said I was a dinosaur. He said the world had passed me by. 2, 3, 4. Vanessa was laughing. She was holding the phone steady. "Get a close-up of his face," she said. 5, 6, 7, 8. I did not respond. I sat there. I took it. I needed this. I needed to feel the emotional pain to kill the parental love I still held for him. I needed him to humiliate the father out of me. 9, 10, 11. He mocked my deceased wife. He said she was lucky she died before seeing what a failure I had become. He said I was pathetic for still wearing my wedding ring. 12, 13, 14. My jaw clenched. Blood rushed to my face. But I focused on a spot on the wall, a painting of a ship in a storm. I had bought that painting in London. It was worth $5,000. I wondered if he knew that. 15, 16, 17, 18. "Why do you not just die already?" he screamed. "Why do you not just have a heart attack and leave us the money? It would be so much easier." 19, 20, 21. Vanessa moved closer. "Kick him out, Brad. He is useless. He is wasting our time." 22, 23, 24, 25. He slowed down. His voice was getting hoarse. He looked at me. I was still sitting upright. I was not crying. I was not begging. 26, 27, 28. He gave me 3 final insults, each one designed to cut deeper than the last, each one a deliberate attempt to destroy whatever dignity I had left. 29, 30. He stepped back, breathing heavy. He wiped his mouth. "Get out," he said. "Get out of my house. Do not come back without the money." I stood up, My legs were shaky, but they held. I picked up my glasses. One lens was fogged from my tears. I put them on. The world looked blurred. That was appropriate. I looked at him. I looked at Vanessa. 30, I said. My voice was a croak, but it was steady. What? Bradley asked. 30 times, I said. I will remember that number. I walked to the door. I did not look back. I walked through the party. The guests went silent as they saw me. Shame on my face, hands trembling, dignity shattered. I walked past them like a ghost. I opened the front door and stepped out into the snow. The cold was a shock. It froze the moisture on my face instantly. I walked to my car. I got in. I did not turn the ignition on immediately. I sat there in the dark, shivering. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. My fingers were stiff. I dialed a number I knew by heart. It rang twice. Jared, I said. Garrison, it is 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. What is wrong? Your voice sounds terrible. Jared West, my lawyer, my shark, the man who knew where all the bodies were buried because he had helped me dig the holes legally. I am activating Clause 13, I said. There was a silence on the other end. A long, heavy silence. Jared knew what Clause 13 was. We had written it into the Bulldog Holdings operating agreement 5 years ago. It was the nuclear option. Are you sure, Garrison? Jared asked softly. Clause 13 is scorched earth. There is no coming back from that. It involves immediate liquidation. I touched my chest. I looked at the reflection in the rearview mirror. I saw a broken man, but behind his eyes, I saw something harder forming. I was just humiliated 30 times by my son, Jared, I said. He told me to die. He told me I was just a wallet. My God, Jared whispered. Do you want me to call someone? Family services? No, I said. I do not want protection. I want destruction. Understood, Jared said. His voice shifted. It became cold, professional, lethal. What are your instructions? The house, I said. The Lakeshore Drive house. It is technically a rental property owned by Bulldog Holdings. Bradley is a tenant at will. He just violated the terms of occupancy by abusing the landlord, verbally and emotionally. Correct, Jared said. We can evict him. It will take 30 days. No, I interrupted. I do not want an eviction. I want it gone. I want to sell it tonight. Tonight? Garrison? Real estate does not work like that. It does if you sell it to the right people, I said. Call Bulldog Flippers. Call that group that buys distressed properties for cash, the ones who buy teardowns. You mean the developers who strip the lots? Jared asked. They will offer you 50 cents on the dollar. You will lose $1 million in equity. I do not care about the money, I said. I want that house sold by noon tomorrow. I want the locks changed before he comes home from work. I want him to put his key in the door and realize he does not own a single brick. I can make some calls, Jared said. I can draft the paperwork tonight. If you are willing to take a massive loss, I can have a cash buyer lined up by 900 hours. Do it, I said. And Jared? Yes? Cancel everything else. The credit cards I pay for, the car lease under the company name, the insurance, the country club membership, cut the strings, all of them. He is going to drown, Garrison. He has no assets. He has a wife, I said grimly. Let us see how long she stays when the credit card declines. I hung up the phone. I started the car. The heater kicked in, blowing warm air onto my frozen hands. I looked at the mansion one last time. I saw the lights. I heard the faint thump of the bass. They were still partying. They were drinking my champagne in my house, celebrating their victory over the old man. Enjoy it, Bradley, I whispered to the empty car. Enjoy the party, because tomorrow the hangover is going to be fatal. I drove away. I did not go to a hospital. I went back to my apartment downtown. I made myself tea. I put ice on my swollen pride. I stared at myself in the mirror. The face looking back at me was humiliated and battered emotionally. But the eyes were different. The sadness was gone. The hesitation was gone. I sat at my kitchen table and waited for the sun to come up. I did not sleep. I watched the clock. 19:45. My father's watch was still in my pocket. I took it out and set it on the table. It was ticking, steady, relentless. At 700 hours, my phone rang. It was Jared. "It is done," he said. "I found a buyer, a commercial group called Titan Demolition. They want the land. They do not care about the house. They are wiring the funds at 1000 hours. They want possession at 1200 hours. "Perfect," I said. "Garrison," Jared warned. "This is going to get ugly. When they take possession, they are going to clear the house. They are not going to pack his things in bubble wrap. They are going to use a dumpster." "That is exactly what I am counting on," I said. I hung up. I stood up and put on a fresh suit. I tied my tie. My fingers were sore from clenching them all night, but I managed. I grabbed my cane. I did not need it to walk, but I liked the weight of it. It was made of hickory, solid, heavy. It was Monday morning. Bradley would be at his office, hungover, trying to hide his gambling debts. Vanessa would be sleeping in until noon, dreaming of spending money she did not have. I checked my watch. 800 hours. The countdown had begun. They had 4 hours left in their paradise, and I was going to enjoy every single second of their eviction. I walked out the door into the Chicago morning. The wind was still howling, but I did not feel the cold anymore. I was on a mission, and God help anyone who stood in my way. I arrived at Jared's office at 8:30. It was a glass tower in the loop. Jared was waiting for me in the conference room. He had a stack of documents 3 inches thick. "You look terrible," he said, looking at my face. "I feel like I won," I replied. He slid the papers across the table. "This is the bill of sale. This is the transfer of deed. This is the immediate termination of the occupancy agreement due to breach of conduct. Sign here, here, and here." I signed. My signature was firm. Garrison Ford, Garrison Ford, Garrison Ford. With each stroke of the pen, I was severing a limb. "The wire transfer is set," Jared said. "Once the money hits our escrow account, the property belongs to Titan Demolition. They have a security team on standby." "Good," I said. At 9:55, the wire transfer came through. The house was sold. It was no longer mine. It was no longer his. It belonged to a corporation that viewed it as a tear-down lot. At 1000 hours, I got into my car with Jared. We followed the Titan Demolition team. They were driving 3 large black SUVs and a massive dump truck. They looked like a military convoy. We drove north to Lakeshore Drive. The snow was falling harder now. It covered the streets in a white blanket, hiding the dirt, hiding the cracks. But it could not hide what was about to happen. We pulled up to the mansion at 10:45. The house was quiet. The curtains were drawn. Vanessa was inside, sleeping. The lead security officer from Titan Demolition, a man named Brutus, who looked like he ate bricks for breakfast, walked up to my car. "Mr. Ford?" he asked. "That is me. We have the deed. We have the writ of possession. Do you want to be the one to knock, or should we?" "You do it," I said. "I will watch from here." Brutus nodded. He signaled his team. 4 men in tactical gear walked up the driveway. They did not ring the doorbell. They did not knock politely. Brutus took out a master key tool. He popped the lock in 5 seconds. The door swung open. The alarm started blaring. A high-pitched scream that cut through the morning air. I rolled down my window. I wanted to hear it. Minutes later, I heard a different kind of scream. It was Vanessa. "Get out! Get out! Who are you?" I watched as the security team started bringing things out. They did not carry boxes. They carried armfuls of clothes, shoes, electronics. They walked to the curb and dumped them in the snow. A Gucci bag landed in a slush puddle. A laptop crashed onto the concrete. A fur coat was tossed onto a bush. Vanessa ran out the front door. She was wearing a silk robe and slippers. She was screaming hysterically. She tried to grab Brutus's arm. He swatted her away like a fly. "Ma'am, this is private property," he boomed. "You are trespassing. Remove yourself from the premises, or you will be arrested." "This is my house," she shrieked. "My husband owns this house." Brutus laughed. He held up the deed. "Nobody named Ford owns this house, lady. Titan Demolition owns it, and we are clearing the debris." Debris. That is what he called their life. Vanessa pulled out her phone. She was shaking. She dialed Bradley. I sat in my car, warm and dry, and watched the show. My phone did not ring. Bradley was calling her, not me. He was about to find out that his bad day was turning into a catastrophe. The dump truck backed into the driveway. The men started tossing furniture into it. The expensive Italian leather sofa I had paid for, gone. The dining table, gone. It was ruthless. It was efficient. It was beautiful. Suddenly, a black BMW screeched around the corner. It was Bradley. He had left work. He drove up onto the lawn, tires spinning in the snow. He jumped out of the car, leaving the door open. "What are you doing?" he screamed. He ran toward Brutus. "Stop! Stop it!" I watched my son. He looked small. He looked powerless. Brutus stepped in front of him. He crossed his massive arms. "Back off, pal." "That is my stuff," Bradley yelled. "Not anymore," Brutus said. "Anything left in the property after transfer of ownership is considered abandoned. We are trashing it." Bradley looked around frantically. He saw the pile of clothes in the snow. He saw his wife crying on the sidewalk. And then he saw me. He saw my sedan parked across the street. He saw me sitting in the driver's seat, watching him. He froze. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He ran across the street. He slipped on the ice, fell, scrambled up, and slammed his hands onto my car window. Dad, stop them. What did you do?" I rolled the window down 2 inches, just enough to hear him clearly, just enough to let the cold air hit his face. "I sold the house, Bradley," I said. "You what? You cannot sell my house." "It was never your house," I said. "It was my house, and I sold it. The new owners are very efficient, are they not?" "You are crazy. Where are we supposed to live? Where am I supposed to go?" I looked at him. I looked at the shame forming on my own face in the rearview mirror. "I do not know," I said. "But I hear the homeless shelters fill up fast in this weather. You better start calling." I rolled the window up. He pounded on the glass. He screamed. He cried. I put the car in drive. I pulled away slowly, leaving him standing in the middle of the dark street, watching his life being hauled away in a dump truck. Act 1 was over. But I was not done. Not even close. Because while he was losing his roof, I was about to make sure he lost his credibility, his reputation, and his future. The 30 humiliations were just the down payment. Now I was coming to collect the interest. We often mistake enabling for love, believing that shielding our children from the world's harsh realities is a kindness. It is not. It is a slow poison that breeds entitlement and rots character. By constantly cushioning my son's falls with my wallet, I robbed him of the strength to stand on his own. I learned the hard way that you cannot buy respect, and you certainly cannot finance integrity. True parental love is not about writing checks to cover mistakes. It is about having the courage to let them face the consequences. Sometimes the only way to save someone is to stop swimming for them. If you believe that respect must be earned and justice must be served, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of retribution.